them through the table, and it doesn't break, and it takes another person having to jump on top to break it. And
here we go. Danny Burch is lying across the table. I think it says Cole, and they try to power bomb Pete Dunne onto him, and it somehow doesn't break.
Yeah.
So Pete Dunne is lying on top of Danny Burch, who's lying on top of a table, and Roderick Strong goes, Geronimo, just, slams the two of them into the table.
Yeah, and I wrote it down. My dad caught it, and like even the commentary, I think Wade Barrett played it up nice. He was like, "Do we have reinforced tables in there or something?"
It was so wild not to break. It was like everything about physics and what we know about these men, it should have broken.
Yeah, I think it's because they saw last year's War Games and they saw how they utilized tables last year. They wanted to be a bit cautionary, saying, "Well, we don't want them doing that again." Well, it's too late.
But already spray painted them.
Yeah.
A spot that I thoroughly enjoyed, Jack. There was a spot where the three wrestlers of Pat McAfee's team are trapped between the ropes and the cage. And this is what I thought, that each of the Undisputed Era members would just sort of wallop them. You know what I mean? But no, what happened after that was each member of the Undisputed Era walloped each of those people, and it was vicious. It was like, it wasn't 1-to-1, it was 4-on-1, and then 4-on-1, and then 4-on-1. And I'm like, stop, they're already dead.
Yeah, and that reminds me of another spot where McAfee gets Cole in the figure 4, and the rest of the three are fighting off in the middle, trying to keep back the rest of the UE from getting to them. And then when Cole reverses it, the UE members take notice, and they start holding back the members of Pat McAfee's group to prevent them from trying to break it up. Yeah. I like that spot.
Who's the MVP, Jack, of the whole men's war game? Who's the Dakota Kai?
I might have to give it to O'Reilly.
Me too.
Oh, yeah, O'Reilly really took a bunch of bumps, which I'll get into next, but I have to mention they did the spot where McAfee jumps off the cage, which a lot of people predicted he was going to do. But he jumps off the cage. The spot that really made me say O'Reilly was the MVP, just like how I gave Dakota Kai the MVP for not only taking the bump with the belt, but the eclipse, was Pete Dunne doing the bitter end to O'Reilly on the 2 chairs. And it wasn't just 2 chairs laying on the ground. They were set up, and so he did it onto the top of the chairs that were set up, straight gut into them.
Terrifying. I'm with you.
And when I saw that, I thought that was the finish, but I actually popped a bit when I saw that O'Reilly kicked out of that.
This one was done right. If there were as many places where it could have ended and it didn't, it just kept me hooked more and more.
Yeah, and, as we get to the finish of the match, I absolutely love that, I believe Pete Dunne does the bitter end to Cole. And, I forgot to mention, there's also a spot where the table that is designated for Fish to go through, they replay a spot from the Takeover War Games 2 years ago. They have Fish spear, I think it's Birch, through that table. Yeah. But so you have a bunch of people down, and Dunne does the bitter end to Adam Cole. And I love this so much because to me, it's similar to it. But to me, I wanna hold it to my heart that it's the continuity. He goes for the pin on Cole, and Roderick Strong interrupts and breaks up the pin almost the same way he did back at TakeOver New Orleans when he turned on him and joined the Undisputed Era.
God, really? Something that similar can't be accidental. They must have thought of that.
Like, when I saw it, I literally said, there's no way that's not just him doing like some random breakup. The way he does it, it's just too similar to me. Like, it has to be playing up the continuity. The way he does it, where he just jumps up and gets that stomp onto Pete Dunne's back, I was like, that has to be a callback to New Orleans. I absolutely love that. And Strong, again, helping Cole get the win, And
it's so funny. We watched these guys wrestle together as a group for, 3 or 4 years? Mm-hmm. And it's only, I think, even as recently as last night that I realized what each member brought to the table. I don't know why I'm numb to this or why I never put it together, but like, what does Roderick Strong bring to the table, Jack?
So, I've actually similarly thought about this because, you know, I told my dad, you know, and as we brought up with the North American divisions, what they've done really in the past few weeks, is they do really well building up people, you know. If you had asked me back in 2017 to think, you know, Roderick Strong would have been a good, like, contender, at least to be in a match for the NXT title, or, you know, to go on and hold some type of title, I would have looked at it and said, I don't know, you know, there was something missing from Strong. He just seemed kind of generic, you know.
Super generic.
He seemed like a lesser version of what I at the time I thought of Angle, because, you know, again, he was using a lot of moves similar to Angle. And recently I came to the thought of it because watching him, and also I told my dad I saw it a lot more in the facials. He seemed like a genericer version of Dean Malenko.
That's funny.
He really does look like Dean Malenko to me.
Yeah.
But I was like, there's something that they have to do. And it wasn't just having to turn him heel, because, you know, like I told my dad, a lot of times that goes wrong is they turn a guy heel thinking that that's what's going to save them, when you can't just use a heel turn.
Right.
But I loved how they knew that they needed to add something to him, and that's what they built up with him, you know. Was he going to join Sanity? No, he was too pure babyface for that.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, they kind of just kept going with the point that, man, you know, he's, like, really this generic person. And when everyone was kind of getting to that point, they did the heel turn, and they did it perfectly by saying, let's add him to the era, because they know that if any group is going to help him develop his character and develop him into something more than generic, it's going to be that group.
And I don't know, it's maybe the contrast between the other members of the group, you know, for me to appreciate what he does. And that's like all the high-impact, strong moves, you know?
Yeah.
The neck breakers, the so many back breakers. And like, you go, oh, you know what? Bobby Fish doesn't do any of those big move, big back breakers. That guy's a big strike guy.
Yeah.
You know? And like, you go, actually, I don't see the other guys doing as many strikes as that guy does, because what Kyle O'Reilly does, he's the mat guy. Mm-hmm. And he does a lot of that mat stuff, and he doesn't do that other stuff quite as much, which I thought was really cool to see on display here in this match. Yeah. You got Adam Cole, who's the whole package, baby.
Yeah, and I was telling my dad, I was like, I really love what they've done with the era over the years. Because, you know, when they started off, you know, it was obvious O'Reilly and Fish were going to be the tag team, and Adam Cole was going to be the main guy. When they introduced the mid-card title, it was like, okay, I guess if they don't feel it's Adam Cole's time yet, they'll probably give him that, which they did at New Orleans, you know. But, you know, you still viewed O'Reilly and Fish as the tag guys. And then when they brought in Strong, it was really interesting to think, oh, well, what are they going to do with him? Little do we know, later he would be the one to get the North American title when Adam Cole moved up for the NXT. And I bring this up because, you know, they've really done a good job of building them up. Because now, I told my dad, I realistically could see any of the 4 men challenging for the North American title and even having a run. You know, I could see O'Reilly having a run with the North American title. I could see Fish having a run with the North American title. Cole and Strong have already had. And I told him I could see, I don't know if I can see as much with Fish, but now I can kind of see either Strong or O'Reilly being a challenger, or even at one point with proper build becoming the NXT champion themselves, you know?
Yeah. The one thing all 3 men that aren't Adam Cole lack, maybe even still, is that mic work, though. You know what I mean? Which is what Adam Cole brings. And wouldn't you know it, the one heavyweight champion of the group is the talker. So it's something to, like, you know, look out for when these guys, I imagine, break up, become their own thing.
When they won, you know, when I was thinking of the entire build-up, I was like, is one of them going to turn and give them the win? But then when they got the win,
Yeah.
It's the Takeover R Evolution in me. It's the Takeover. Was it Chicago? Yeah, I think it was Chicago in me.
Are you citing all the breakups we've seen on Takeover?
Yeah, it's the Owens turning on Zayn. It's the Ciampa turning on Gargano. I saw the logo, and it's still to myself. You know that copyright logo that the match.
Hold your breath.
Yeah, I was holding my breath. I'm not letting go. Just like with Undertaker, I was like, I'm not letting go till this fades to black and they go to the next thing. I'm like, I'm waiting because I know this company, I know this brand. They make you think, oh, it's all nice and safe, and then bam, at the last second, oh, you thought the copyright logo meant it was over? Nope. Here's Owens power bombing Zayn onto the apron. Here's Ciampa turning on Gargano.
Right, but nothing like that happened. We had a happy ending to our fairy tale story here of the Undisputed Era taking down the brand. But Jack, how many minutes we got?
4 minutes.
4?
Yeah.
I want it all to be spent on you explaining to me like I'm a 5-year-old why Pat McAfee didn't take the pin.
That's what I was about to say. That's what I was going to say, because you were saying it was a fairy tale ending and stuff. I was going to say, I don't know if it was that much for you, seeing as how they made tag team champion Oney Lorcan take the pin.
They made professional wrestler Oney Lorcan take the pin. Why didn't they take Pat McAfee's dead body, put Oney Lorcan's body on top of that, put Danny Burch's body on top of that, put Pete Dunne's body on top of that, and then pin the pile?
Well, I'm about to say something that's probably going to frighten you. I have a feeling they did this because I don't think we've seen the last of Pat McAfee on NXT.
I know it to be true. If I search my heart, I know it to be true. I'm alright with the manager, bringing the heavies at the guy, but he's not supposed to be one of the guys.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, whether or not he passes the, casual audience test, I asked both my dad and my brother, you know who that guy is? They both went no. They both saw NXT TakeOver 30. They both said no. All he is a reminder of what could have been. You know who should have been in his spot? Rich Holland.
Yeah.
Alas.
Yeah. That's the one thing that sucks, is that despite them building up talent, they've also been losing a lot of talent to injury.
Yeah, for sure. But Pat McAfee lives to see another day. He got a lot of abuse, and I enjoyed every part of it. God help me, you're right. He's going to come back.
Yeah. But
what did you think of the show overall, Jack?
Really good. I personally, I think it was a bit better than some of the past takeovers we've got in this year.
Look, I had the same thought. I thought, between Takeover 31 and Halloween Havoc, this one was a lot more enjoyable.
Alright, so before we close out, real quick, I just want to say, seeing as though this is probably the last takeover event of the year, which one was your favorite? Between Portland, In Your House, 30, 31, and WARGAMES.
In Your House.
In Your House? Okay. Man. I might have to give it to In Your House. I was originally thinking I was going to give it to Portland just because of how much I loved Belair versus Rhea and how much I absolutely loved Dijakovic versus Lee as the opening match. But no, I think I might have to give it to In Your House.
Yeah, Io Shirai winning, Keith Lee winning, Karrion Kross winning, and Balor winning on one night. That was a good night.
Yeah. And, as you probably did intentionally, ignoring what was that backlot brawl NXT championship match.
I sure did.
Alright, but so we'll sign out here. I've been your host, Jack, joined by my guest,
Mr. Solis.
We thank you for joining us for another episode of the Rule 34 podcast. And remember, if it exists, we have an opinion on it.
Happy holidays, y'all.
Happy holidays. We'll see you in the next episode.